Welcome back for game number 2 as we look to really figure out, okay, what's happening in this series? What is happening, Max? Because we know that Antic are already secure, they're looking good, but at the same time, Iron really challenged them in those first 15 minutes.
Yeah, definitely not the dominant one-sided stomp that Antic would have been hoping for coming out of the gate, right? Ion put up a fantastic resistance, often dictating the tempo of the game, particularly around that bot lane. And hopefully this game is the game where they can finally break through that threshold and transition that early game lead into a late game success.
Well, it is the same sides, and for the meantime, it certainly is the same bans as well. You'd be expecting the Ion Udia band to come out to complete the same setup as game 1. And we'll see if that is the case, which it most certainly is. So is it as simple as Antic saying, well, Kallista's up and available, it worked for us last game, there'd be no reason to change something that is certainly not broken?
Yeah, now the question comes where they want to go with that level 1 play, because that's kind of their undoing of a lot of these Kallista lanes that Antic play against, right? They come into the lane level 1, they map split, and no team has really shown that they're going to be able to actually contest that at a level 1 situation. Now, Azira Khan would be a fantastic adaptation, actually one of the bot lanes that's able to fight Kallista level 1 and even come out ahead there, so for the time being, that won't be locked in. It'll be the Orianna, which was Jovi found a lot of success on. Yes, obviously Ryoma got really far ahead, but that wasn't because of any laning blunders from this Orianna. This wasn't because Jovi was simply getting bodied in a 1v1. It was because Ryoma was able to get plays on the opposite sides of the map. So saying again that he's very comfortable on this pick, didn't really get to showcase what he could do in game 1. Hopefully this is the game for it.
Well, certainly is. They really have chopped and changed their mind as to what they want this AD carry to be, but it's half of what we sort of expected, right? If the Kallista goes ahead, the other premier AD carry is taken away, you'd expect the Xayah Rakan, but they're really valuing this Orianna. Maybe Jovi just all too concerned that the Zazir matchup is a freebie for him, so I don't need to really worry what he's going to pick into it.
Yeah, Azir once again going to be the lock-in here for Ryoma. Found so much value from it in game 1 and paired with the Rel as well. So same first 3 coming out of Antic here. We already know that they found this playstyle to be working for them, right? They have the engage in the hands of the support and the jungle, allow Ryoma and King to be the ones dishing out that damage. And if it isn't broke, why fix it?
Certainly not. It's just a run back for them. They don't need to change anything up at all. So it's an easy way for them to respond back into this one. There is the Xayah Rakan now being hovered. And you'd most certainly expect it to be confirmed. But now the real question becomes, what changes in the second half of the ban phase? What needs to really come out here for Ion to get the best start possible? Because if you know what we saw last game remains true, that 5th pick once again would be getting safe for Doraemon.
And remember last time we saw a lot of jungle attention in these ban phases. We saw that Antic were really wanting to target the champion pool of Foreigner. Brand will be the big question mark as to whether it's left up. I think it obviously posed a couple issues for them in the early game. Those fights around the bot side jungle really ring true as to how much damage this brand can actually produce. But as for now, Ion will be taking away this Gnar, which, you know, Zoranus didn't really have the greatest early game. He was very stable, didn't actually do too much in terms of getting towards fights, just kind of survived that laning phase against that Irelia. But Ion want to kind of rid him of that safety. They want to put him in a bit more of a precarious spot and take away the Gwen as well.
That they certainly have done, right? Make sure there's no strong AP threat from the top side that can snip through and absolutely crush it in the 1v1. Well, nothing really changes for Antic. It's the same draft with the same bans. It really is the run back, but not really salty because they won that game. So they're going to be quite content with how things are playing out so far. Now the grand reveal as to why the Cassante is being locked in here. Deny the Gwen to make that matchup even harder. And get to see what Antic have in response into this one. We have been begging to see the likes of a Darius come into effect, right? Certainly when Udia was the most prevalent. But what is Zoranus cooking here?
I mean, King is probably just Joe covering this, but Garen is a fantastic matchup into the Cassante, right? He can basically never ult, because the second he does, you're able to silence him and just one-shot him thanks to the HP that he sacrifices. The Aatrox will be the answer, so a decent laning phase into the Cassante and as well able to just really take over in these team fights. Now, Zoranus did go for the more bruiser-oriented build from the Aatrox with the Sundered Sky Rush in his last series versus Bliss. But what we have been seeing is the lethality itemization. We've seen the Profane Hydra, we've seen the Edge of Night come out, and this Aatrox is just a monster in team fights, right? Like, he just is killing people with 2 uses of the Q, able to completely take over a fight. But Skimmy, this is an adaptation I wanted to see coming out from Ion. They pick up the Cassante, enable a bit more frontlining to their composition, and that leaves room for Foreigner to do something like this.
I think it's a really good vote of confidence, not only from the players, but the coaching staff as well, to say, look, the game itself wasn't necessarily issued. The gameplay seemed pretty fine until we realized that, look, we don't actually have the most reliable form of engage. So one of us has to take a bit of a back seat. We don't get to truly pop off. And quite frankly, Cassante does still function in a very similar vein, right? Yes, you're incredibly tanky, you can engage, but you still can output very similar Irelia levels of damage. What I like from the side of Antic, however, is that despite it being the exact same comp as Game 1 with the exception of Aatrox, you're looking at Draco and thinking, what was it going to be? Is it the Nautilus or the Maokai? But his Nautilus looked fantastic.
Oh, his Nautilus was really good. It was kind of the difference maker to a lot of those fights for Antic. He was able to find those key engages, hook onto key members, and really just be a big nuisance that Ion was struggling to avoid. That can be one of the kind of downfalls of a brand in the jungle, is he's very immobile, he's very vulnerable to engage, and that is exactly what Antic have in spades.
What a sit and what actually changes up this time, right? Because the mid lane matchup was certainly the one what we saw being the most volatile. Top lane certainly could have been, but it didn't really result in that fashion. The only real difference that made that matchup actually go against Jovi in the end, because he was getting some phenomenal trades working in his favor, was that roam down to bot lane. And there was a big focus on bot lane, not only from the jungle, but just from the pressure that both King and Draco were able to put out.
Yeah, that bot lane always the heat map for any match that Antic is in, really. We know how troubling King can be to deal with when he was ahead. Last game was kind of a rare occasion where he wasn't just completely dominating the lane, you know. Even still they were getting plates, even still they were getting a CS lead, but he wasn't able to find those kills, wasn't able to find that dominance that they're usually looking for. But loading into Game 2 here, Ion, they went back to the drawing board. They acknowledged what went well from last game, and they also acknowledged what they needed a little bit more of. So it's a little bit of a different take on a similar comp. Let's see how it pans out for them in Game 2.
Well, that is the big question right now, and I suppose what they'll be asking themselves is, do we need to play to this bot side to protect our own blue buff? Would Antic even dare to run it back with the same play in the same series? We've seen them do it before. It's worked out beautifully. It worked out phenomenally in Game 1. But with a bit of a question mark was the fact that they maybe overextended their welcome and actually handed first blood across to Ion. But Foreigner managed to profit from that one. He became incredibly strong, so much so that he was able to get 6 of those Void Grubs. But ultimately, the team fights went against him, and they never truly got to unleash their sieging potential. But let's load into the second game of the series. Antic leading the best of 2. The 1-0 start, and right now, as a full 5-man squad, are going for the roam into bot lane to run it back with the same play. Nebula is the target. He's got double summoners. He's unwilling to burn it until the very last second. The flash from King that finds nothing, and Nebula's gone.
I mean, you're very happy with that if you're Nebula and if you're Ion. 3 flashes being used and not even a kill picked up. He's just going to be able to walk out of there, even saves the heal. Bit of a blunder from Antic, however they will manage to get some vision placed down in the bot side jungle of this brand. And it looks very similar to Game 1. The Kalista, Nautilus and Rel, very potent level 1 combo, able to lock a target down, especially a target without flash, for quite a while. So we'll be careful as to how they navigate this bot lane.
And it just feels like deja vu. How do they keep getting away with the same play time and time again? Surely a discussion around how that early game went before Game 1 was had, and they've made some adaptations in that regard. But as far as things are concerned, it does still seem to be the case. The Foreigner starts at the top side, and if this continues where they were able to hit the big trade, zone them from their tower, you are certainly expecting Foreigner to rotate down. And at this point, you're thinking, okay, what has actually changed?
I think the big issue is the brand strength level 1, right? As a hook somehow landed to Nebula there. Bit of a rubbish one if you ask me. But this brand is just such a weak champion in the early game here, and Swiper's actually made quite an intelligent kind of decision here with his pathing. You can see that he starts the blue, but once that's done, he actually goes and takes the wolf camp. That one he didn't do in the previous game, and that'll mean that he'll tick level 3 and be on this Gromp, be in close proximity to the bot lane, who they've got a wave stacked for, and they're looking to dive.
They certainly are. The Gromp will reset. There's no flash available, so Nebula's in trouble. Burns to summon a heal, but the Ignite comes out in time and prevents any success. Hex Flash is the one to pick up the kill, which would feel really bad for the Zarya, but he's already been denied so much, and that lane once again feels so doomed.
Well, that's one of those dives where Draku knows he's going to die, but he knows it's also going to be worth it. Not only is it King who picks up the kill, but it's Hex Flash who actually gets the gold from that support death. So a really nice little swing here As Swiper will have an idea where Foreigner is. He did just spawn him because of that Q. And it looks like this counter jungle play may even be avoided. So Antic, they're getting active, they're making plays, and they're preventing their enemy from making ones in return. But that being said, Foreigner is looping around to check this red buff.
But this is nice though, this is really nice from Hexflash to understand that Draku is going to go for the reset, obviously coming from base and going to be looking to try and protect his side of the jungle, knowing that Swiper is going to be under a bit of threat. So he's there to back up Foreigner, keep the pressure up and say, you've stolen so much from us, we'll steal a bunch from you too. That's what I really wanted to see, is him become a little bit more active on the map to assist and help out. And certainly if we can see Foreigner ahead, he certainly has the tools to try and take this game over again.
Yeah, very short-range comp with the exception of Azir. He is certainly going to be able to have kind of the same field day that he did in the last game in terms of being able to stack up his passive, bounce his ultimate around. But the question is can he actually get to that spot, and can the game actually continue to where Brand is able to be this menace? Because right now in the bot lane, you know, it's an Antic play from level 1 that goes in their favor this time. They actually managed to execute the dive and get that kill onto King, who's now sitting pretty in lane with a pickaxe to his name. So the Swiper pokes his head in the mid lane here. Not really going to be able to accomplish too much. Just shoving this one out, helping Roma get his reset off.
Yeah, very much the case here, right? Never was really threatening with the distance that would need to be covered as Jovi postured towards the bottom side of that river bush. Really saying that, look, this is an aggressive lane. HP is going to be of the utmost necessity. And you need to get back to base. You need to make sure that you continue to be strong enough to force these trades out. Speaking of trades, bot lane is getting a little bit aggressive here as Iron look to try and put the siege on. They're protected knowing that Foreigner is only a few meters away from them. He's stealing away some of those Krugs, and certainly wouldn't be a miss for just popping his head into that lane and dropping a Pillar of Flame too. But for the meantime, he's going to say that, look, they might know where I am, but I don't want to reveal myself just yet.
Yeah, he does get spotted there by trying to take that path through the Tribe Rush, which means they will have knowledge of where he is. That being said, Swiper, not really in a position to punish, is kind of busy farming his own camps. And there's a little window here where Iron do head towards the Dragon. You can see that with Desire being brought up, they do have the damage to finish it decently quickly. So it looks like Iron will get off to the front foot in terms of the objective race in Game 2.
So it seems to be the case. It was very much all about the Void Grubs for them in Game 1, but with a bit of a heads-up play. Right place, right time. Foreigner, with the push from his bot lane, is easily able to pick up that Dragon with little to no contest. The trail of them being that Antic with the announcement, I suppose you would say, then given the information to say, well, we can just pick up these Void Grubs with little issue ourselves. Zoras right now having to push in top lane makes it easy for him to guarantee this one. And I'm curious to see how active he can get in this game, what kind of build he decides to go for, right? As you've already mentioned, it was very much a more defensive build last time, but this lethality one does so much work, and you just love to see him go all in.
Yeah, this game, I'd imagine it is the lethality route. He does have so many frontliners in front of him that he doesn't really need to be this one who's surviving for that long, right? He can be more focused about just blowing up the squishy members on Ion, and likely will find more value doing that. So it's a more fun build to watch as well, as we can see Jovi getting a little bit of trading in this mid lane, and it's nice from Hexflash to acknowledge that perhaps Jovi needs a little bit more attention in this lane, given how much Antic are wanting to look at him, right? In the previous game, we saw him getting shuffled, we saw him falling down in that mid lane. So now, making sure that is not a possibility. We check back into the top lane. Foreigner's in the area, but it's so hard as Brand to get a successful gank unless this Cassante is throwing him over a wall into your face.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Why Not certainly play this champion and rock up to the lane, hit the Pillar of Flame and guarantee the stun right after, but certainly is easy to sit down, but level 6 is there, so both ultimates get popped, and Doraemon goes to aggressive, looking for the kill as he goes all out underneath the turret, drags him back, one more will do it, fantastic flash denying it! And Sorinus lives to fight another day.
Very nice trade there from Doraemon, realizing that he can actually press the advantage there and pop that ultimate, forcing the flash from Zorinus because that Q3 lands. So a little advantage gained. You're always happy trading that ghost for a flash like Doraemon just did. Mid lane Jovi tries to hold a freeze here, and Foreigner, crucially, he will get his second respawn here. That's always the worry when you do have a successful level 1 play go against you, is the fact that it's not just your buff going over that first time, but also the second time because they have the timer on it. However, thanks to some vision, Jovi with a nice flash.
Really good flash there as he actually gets spooked by the fact that Roma rocks up to that lane with a whole bunch of extra HP. Honeyfruit really proving to be the difference maker there. He gets to retain his flash as well. So that mid lane, once again, the volatility proving to be the central point of this game. The hook lands at max range, the passive connects. Draku might regret this one because the blade cooler should be active. Swipe is still hanging in the area, turns things around as Foreigner rocks up and realizes this is not the fight I want. There's the Fate's Call, knocks up two, flashes out the safety. The Max Storm comes in, and the stun is fantastic. One last hook, the shield is good. And he'll sacrifice his life for the greater good because his AD carry now has 3 kills.
That is a very worthy sacrifice from Draku. Ultimately goes down but gets so much done in the process. It starts off with a little skirmish onto the Nautilus who actually hooks in, but crucially the ground entrance isn't able to land. They're not able to lock down Draku, and that means that a Fate's Call is able to turn the fight right around and get this Kalista 3 kills.
That's the perfect start for the Kalista. We'll start her off once again. It's always Draku, the conductor of these fights, always threading the needle. As soon as the minion's gone, hook's on.
Yeah, Hook is on here, and look at the Blade Call. It isn't enough to root him, and that's kind of the big thing here. They want to CC this Nautilus because they know Foreign's in the area and they have the damage to kill him. But with that initial misplay not going in their favor, it buys time for Swiper to make progress, and another Hook just secures the double kill for King.
And for me, you can see the position being compromised there from Nebula, ever so focused on landing the Blade Caller. It gets completely baited by the fact that the Fate's Call can come on out. They're stacked up nicely together. Easy knock up, extra CC. Just more time for King then to apply those marks to rend them all on down. And I tell you what, a Kalista this far ahead early on, there's a bit of a reason why it's so strong or why it's first pick worthy.
Absolutely is a menace when it gets this far ahead, right? You always love to see a Kalista playing with an item advantage, playing with a kill advantage. And that is exactly the point King is at now. So how do Ion navigate this situation, right? Xayah in the late game isn't as potent as Jinx, right? It's not as clearly one-sided as it is against the Kalista. So this advantage that King has accrued will definitely be meaningful now. Another advantage they picked up is the flash, and that's going to be used right now.
It certainly is going to be a shockwave on his head. Roma just out of turret range as the Magnet Storm comes across and says, our lockdown is just better than yours. And that's a phenomenal gank to ensure that Roma continues to stay ahead.
It feels like rinse and repeat here from Antic. They blow the flash in the mid lane, they come back, they scoop him, and he dies. And really, it's been that simple to get this Azir ahead. Fortunately for Ion, the kill will be picked up by the Rel. So no kind of snowbally Azir that we saw last game. Still picking up the Nash's Tooth and still feeling very good about laning against this flashless Orianna.
Certainly do. It's just the meticulous timing above all else for me, Max, right? It's the understanding of when they're available and when they can look to try and strike. The timing has worked out phenomenally time and time again. 3 apiece are the Void Grubs as Foreigner picks those ones up. But can they get back to base, this bot lane lovers duo? Because Draku's on the hunt, and in the end, actually gets denied despite the sweeper being in play.
Crucially, that Lovers Duo recall coming through is the saving grace there. Able to get out in time as Foreigner trades for the grubs on the top side of the map, but now this mid lane really becomes the issue here for Ion. You can see that anytime Jovi doesn't have flash and Ryoma has this ultimate, he will be looking. So they're going to have to be incredibly careful. Hopefully send some members up there like we saw Hex Flash do earlier in the game and just give this Orianna some protection, because if it does come to the situation where Azir is constantly allowed to play aggressive against this Orianna, you're in a really dangerous spot.
It certainly seems to be that similar outcome, right, with the Nash's Tooth online nice and quickly. King also picking up that blend of their own King, so bot lane isn't going to change its tune anytime soon, and it certainly means that we could expect them to go for a bit of a lane swap like they did very early on, which certainly caught Ion off guard, right? A bit of a slow response from him to realize, okay, this is the play from our opposition. And I do really wonder now how they buy themselves out of this hole, because the Xayah just needs so much time to afford the 2 items required for the champion to feel at least a little bit relevant, right? And Ivori Quick Blades obviously being an absolute staple in that kit. But, you know, they're just not going to get afforded that time anywhere soon. I mean, Antic clearly run this map and do as they please.
That really is the issue, right? The Kraken Slayer will be completed now, but the Kalista at Bork just feels so kind of demanding and so kind of just dominant in that laning phase because of the slows that are coming through on top of all the CC as well that you already have. So a single misstep from anyone on Ion can definitely result in death. That being said, there is a Foreigner who's walking his way down towards this bot side of the map. If there's anyone you can look at to try to add some value and try to kind of change the status quo here in this bot lane, it's this Brand. With Rylai's activated now and no cleanse on King, there's certainly a world in which you can lock that Kalista down. But Antic, once again, you can see just moving up, contesting vision Brand doesn't even have a chance to walk into the lane. Going to be forced to go through the actual bot lane itself to make something happen here.
Yeah, and it just feels so hard to make that one happen, right? Because they've always got the push in mid lane. So Roma and Swiper are always free to rotate first. So it will just be a 4v3 if a fight were to break out here in the bot lane. You can see that taking place right now as the roam connects and Foreigner realizes this is not the position I want to be in. He's forced to flash away despite protecting that tri-bush. And the ultimate even getting burned in a 1v1. And you can see it's just not going to do too much damage, but it's not able to bounce around.
The ultimate just tickles Swiper there, walking away very happy with that trade. Flash taken as well. And like you said, it really is the priority gap that is hurting Ion right now. Any time that they make a play, they are at danger of being collapsed upon by this Azir and by this Rel, who really, you know, is actually on par here with Brand in terms of CS. Not something you see every day. But Swiper feeling very comfortable piloting this champion, just running around the enemy jungle as he pleases.
It does seem pretty crazy to see the fact that Arel is able to keep pace with a Brand. Certainly not your everyday situation. I'm really curious now, how do Iron buy themselves out of this position? Because obviously Jovi is falling further and further behind. Still needs that first completed item. Doesn't look like he's going to change his tune anytime soon to go to a build. We've seen these other players go for the loot and seemingly the first purchase once again. But Frono respecting the fact that I can't gank bot lane, it's just too hard with a numbers disadvantage. That tower is dead for right. It's the first one done at 14 minutes in. I'll go for this Herald. And that was their play last time, right? Try and hit them where it hurts in the sieging department. But it's no longer an Irelia threatening his 1v1s. It's going to be the Cassante, which has certainly been left to his own devices.
Definitely not as strong on that split push threat, right? We don't know if Doraemon is running in Demolish. Typically, you do go for a shield bash in these matchups, but it could be certainly something that he looks towards. And like you said, they do have the Herald, but really, when are they going to have the opportunity to use it? It feels so hard in basically any lane that Ryoma or King are in to make something happen. So perhaps going to take advantage of this Cassante and all the CC he offers, try to play through this Brand. But as for now, there's complete control here. You can see in the jungle the control wards that Antic have placed very deep into the jungle of Ion. That just provide them so much intel heading into the second Dragon spawn.
But they certainly are. You can see a bit of cheeky blue trinket usage there from Maroma to make sure, is Jovi still in the area? Can I jump across the wall and scoop him back to burn that flash right before that potential Dragon fight? But he decides to back away in the end, and that seemingly is the case again, right? If we have priority, we have the first move, we can do as we please. And certainly now that Zoras has completed that Profane Hydra, they are a real damage threat. So strong are Antic that they will be first to start things up here. What do Iron do as a response? It may just be that classic trade. If you go Dragon, we summon Herald.
They've brought Doraemon down here, so wanting it to be a kind of 4v4 situation, but look at Trovy's position. He's answering a wave under the bot lane turret. So it'll just be a little unmanned kind of Herald charge there. It doesn't do too much at all to the turret, so Ion will look at these camps in the top side. You can see that Brand does feel pretty comfortable. Has the smite here, but has to be very wary around this Aatrox, especially with the Nautilus to back him up. He lands a single spell, and it could be the end.
It certainly could be the end there. You're wondering for a second whether or not Draco would pull the trigger and go for the flash play for the hook to make it happen, but with only Zoranus really being right there accessible to back him on up, it wasn't going to be the ideal situation. King lagging just a few seconds behind there. It may have been a flash play that would have looked nice, but wouldn't eventuate into anything substantial on this occasion. Well, the training does certainly take place, and Cassante never too shy to go for that 1v1. He was very close last time, forcing at the flash. The Ghost not burnt just yet. The ultimate's certainly finding success. And for the second time in a row now, Zoran is going to get bullied out of lane here, and really needs a bit of sustain to make sure that he can farm this one up safely.
Trade of ults once again going in favor of Doraemon. Just being able to find too much value from the Sheen, from the Iceborne Gauntlet. Cassante does a fair bit of damage when he is in that all-out form and forces Zoran back off once again. But apart from that, still an uneventful top lane. Neither of these champions have been able to impact the map so far. Will come down to a team fight. As you can see, the lane assignment's shifting here. Ryoma towards the top lane. Wherever this Azir goes, Swiper is sure to follow. And you can see the vision line being dropped nice and deep, giving Ryoma all the room that he needs to work his way onto this turret.
Well, it certainly has been very PvE-centric from Ion. They've been quite keen to be risk adverse and run away from any kind of attempt that Antic makes to be aggressive. Once again, you're seeing a proof of that example with them saying, well, we found out a member, let's get aggressive for it. And it just means that Ion can see more and more of this map. That is the second turret going down. Joby is going to respond by saying, I don't want to do anything with my team right now. I want to try and keep pace here with Ryoma and make sure that once I really do regroup with the rest of the team, I am a damage threat. And whilst that looks good in isolation, it just gives so much free movement for Antic to do as they please, as they have been doing for the last 15 minutes.
And what's being traded, there's not really much that they're actually getting on the opposite side of the map from Ion, right? The mid turret is still standing fairly healthy as well, and that second tier turret is just so hard to actually pursue because of all the threat of collapse that come when you actually push up to take it. So Ion just on the back foot now. 3k is the gold lead, so certainly not an insurmountable one, but it really feels like a stranglehold in terms of pressure, in terms of the vision game. Feels like Antic are dictating the pace, and now Kalista comes back to lane. 2 items completed, and you can see no surprises there, sitting very pretty alone on top of that gold graph.
Certainly makes sense. We had the most farm in the game, as well as all the kills too. 9,000 gold, not too far behind is Ryoma, but as we mentioned before, Joby very keen to run away from any kind of chaos, stick to his own devices and say, I just want to farm, I just want to get strong, and Drake says, enough is enough. If we put you behind, we're not too concerned about what else is there to offer. Ryoma shuffles in, then gets a helping hand by the shockwave to get him even closer, and then the flank from Swiper as Hex Flash is there to shadow and protect anybody from falling on down.
Nice play there from Joby. It almost looked like he was dead to rights, but finds a nice shockwave onto Ryoma to prevent the chase down. And whilst Draku does expend the flash, it will be traded for Joby and bot lane priority. That's really the key thing here. You can see 3 members of Antic. Meanwhile, Zoran is being caught here. The blast cone, not enough to knock him into his team.
Yeah, Foreigner certainly says I got a fair bit of damage, but at the end of the day, I am quite squishy if this were to be an extended trade. So Blast cones himself out to safety, despite having his team in the area. Doraemon taking top lane tier 1, and the rest on the rotate through, looking to try and protect that Baron, which has just spawned now. Even though it was enough, though, to force out Zoranus' ultimate. He wasn't taking any chances this time.
Yeah, knows that he's on mid lane by himself, knows that his team is getting gold on the other side of the map, and really, that's kind of what it's all about. Having 2 side lane turrets down this early is just a huge injection of gold into the members who've taken them. So Azir now sitting with a Lich Bane completed, Kalista as well, Winsu's online. Both of these ahead of the curve of the enemy AD carries. You can see that they've got that item advantage over their opponents. And with the Kalista, with the Azir, yes, it's only 20 minutes, but a Baron becomes a very real possibility if you have any downtime whatsoever with that objective.
Well, we certainly saw that be the case in game 1, didn't we? They got given a chance to go for the Baron, and they ripped it apart in little to no time. But this is a massive turning point here for Iron, right? You've just seen 3 major items completed for them to hit that second item break point. Iron's certainly not going to be feeling too weak now, and they've got a bit of a rare opportunity whilst the gold lead is still in, close lead. Only 3k is the lead that Antic do have. This is probably as good a chance as it gets, and you wouldn't put it past Antic to start up the Baron and say, well, if you think you're strong, come at us. They've got 15 wolves in that Baron pit to make sure that the sky is dark here for Ion. But that's not going to deter them from face checking this one. They're going to look to try and see what they can get. Doraemon getting knocked away. The Baron down to 40%. The hook goes in as Hex Flash jumps away. The shockwave onto Tomb. The grand entrance thereafter. The Fate's Call is clutch. And Swiper has to limp away to get the smite. And if he does fall on down, his job is already done. That is the case. 4 Baron buffs remain, but Roma's failed the swipe. And he's going to be forced to flash away afterwards. But is it too little too late? Out goes the Empress of Fire, but in jumps Doraemon, circumventing that ultimate with the ultimate of his own. And he's literally trying to 1v9 on his own, giving Nebula everything he needs and more.
Antic, they pick that fight. They want to start the Baron there, and yes, they do get it. But off the back end, it's some massive shutdowns coming through for the Ion members. A bit of a blunder from Ryoma forces his flash to come out, and then there's Hex Flash with the quickness and grand entrance to follow, denying the Baron from the members who really you want to have it on, right? Zoranus, yes, taking it is good, but let's take a look at this fight again. The initial engage on from Dragku is responded to very well. You can see that the Fate's Call has to be used defensively to kind of evac him. Swiper caught in the Baron pit, and you think that's it. Okay, well, we sacrificed that jungle, that's fine. But it's that failed shuffle there that is really the death sentence for Antic. It enables Doraemon to catch up, catches out Ryoma, and also King does not respect this Q3 here. Landing from the Cassante means that Kalista goes down as well. a big injection of gold back into the pockets of Ion. But you can see that Baron power play actually negative 1,000 gold for the side of Antic.
Yeah, only 2 Baron buffs remaining now, both Zornus and Draco having that one available for them. So in terms of power, it's nowhere near as easy for them to try and split the map apart or force themselves to say, we just have a overwhelming combat advantage. And we literally just spoke about, before that fight took place at the Baron, that Ion would be feeling pretty confident about their chances, given that their mid-jungle, as well as bot laner, had just picked up that second item spike. And look what a difference it's made. I mean, Nebula's had a pretty rough go of it in the laning phase, but bounces back and now has the only bounty in the game.
Feeling pretty good here. He is with those 2 completed items. As you can see that Ion wanting to contest here. They've found Swiper. No flash on this rel, but he's very tanky.
He's incredibly tanky right now. It's going to be easy said than done to try and take him on down, but Draco's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Fate School gets broken nicely. Out comes that Feather Storm. Rip back the feathers and get rooted in place, but Nebula still stands and delivers. Okay. Foreigners alive, Freya found, only Jovi falling on down. And it's only Ryoma left to fight. This is incredible. What a turnaround.
Yeah, miracle fight there from Ion. They just say that this is our river and they defend it with their lives. Nebula coming like absolutely huge there. You can see in the backline of the fight, whilst that was all going on, that Doraemon has get onto King, right? He gets onto that Callista. As we take a look at how this goes again, Foreigner just face checking, but this time, Brand is not afraid. He does not care whatsoever. He's got a Cassante and the rest of his team to back it up, and crucially, it's this little angle from Doraemon. Sweeps Swiper into the team. They're all DPSing him, but the Shockwave, that applies so much value, enables Doraemon to get onto King here, and whilst this fight's going on the backline, Nebula is just unloading damage into the rest of the Antic members. Picks up a triple kill. Right into a classic pause.
Well, look,
giving us some time to digest that fight.
It certainly does. And I thought, you know what, we were doing so well today, Max. We'd avoided the pauses, the memes, the jokes of what our region has to offer at times, but it wouldn't be a show. It really wouldn't be a show without us having at least one of those to fill the quota. Play that bingo card, if you will. But I tell you what, that fight for me, the biggest turning point was the fact that, yes, you got him with the fantastic Shockwave, but it's in Hex Flash jumping in right after with the Charm, preventing any kind of flash or disengage or turnaround play. It was just a really well-executed CC combo. And then, yeah, easy pickings then for the Xayah to stand still, work their magic with those cooldowns being brought down at such an accelerated rate that he can just pick up a triple. Back-to-back fights now where 5 kills have been found. The Xayah, whilst we said might not have the best time, is certainly finding success now and is looking to try and utilize that range advantage into Callista, where they're forced to very much be like, here's the Fates, cool. Guys, I'll be winning this fight now.
And speak of the confidence that such a play shows from Ion, right? Foreigner is just completely unafraid in walking blind into that river as the Brand, confident that he has the teammate support behind him to make sure he won't go down. And really, it's only 500 gold now, 2 dragons apiece. Both Ion and Antic, even in the objectives department. So we've got a game on our hands.
We certainly do. What was looking like a 4k gold in favor of Antic, they went for the Baron, they lost the fight there, only 2 Baron buffs remained, and then into the next fight near the Dragon. And they lost that one pretty convincingly as well. Only now 900 gold is the difference at 25 minutes in. And I'll tell you what, as much as we talk about contesting the Void Grubs, the Dragons have been the exact same too. There's no chance of a Dragon Soul anytime soon unless we were to really break the records and take this game to 50 minutes.
Yeah, Zornus might have found Jovi here. There is a TP if Draymond wants to use it.
Looking to see what he can do with this one. Will he find an opportunity to dodge out on some of that CC? He just hits the Shockwave. And Zornus says, well, I'm feeling a little bit concerned about that one. Hits the chains now, flashing out of that one, guaranteeing nothing to take place. And Jovi, I think he wins this 1v1 unless he can bring in the boys to back him on up. Not feeling confident in the 1v1. Jovi too strong. Blind hook from Dracu. Nicely done. And into the waiting arms of Ryoma.
He's winning the 1v1, but he's not winning the 1v4. I think that is the moral of the story there. Jovi, a little bit of fancy footwork, a little bit of nice flash there to take out Zornus, at least the majority of his health bar. But before he can take it all out, the rest of Antic show up. And once again, Ryoma, the benefactor of Jovi overextending in these side lanes. This is here. Hasn't had the most standout performance so far, but has been quietly achieving. You can see now sitting around 11.5 CS per minute. Absolutely a terror on this Azir, who's going to back base now and work his way towards that death cap. Still the carries of Antic. Whilst it has equalized a little bit, they are still on top of that gold graph.
They certainly are. The early game absolutely dominated there by King, but the quite achievement you mentioned for Ryoma is certainly starting to add up. He's not too far behind his Callista. And after what have been two phenomenal skirmishes going the way of Ion, Nebula certainly is the shining beacon of hope now here for Ion. If he stays alive, there is a chance. Despite Joby being 0-3 and 7, these Shockwaves finding their metas. They've been finding a little bit of damage. In with a TP, draw him in the focus, the hook doesn't connect, and he gets zoned away straight down to 50%. A TP that may now turn into a recall as he needs HP.
Well, he gets melted, Skimmy. Look at his items. He doesn't have a single item that is giving him any MR. So this Azir, who we just mentioned, is incredibly fed with the death cap now. Shockwave finds two!
Massive blind Shockwave, instant grand entrance, and a fantastic double kill that grants Nebula yet another fight working in their favor. The Magnet Storm is good, but it's not enough to get the kill. Hexflash limping away, dying to the Sun Disc as Zornis picks that one up. He's flanking from the side. Roma picks up Jovi. And now Zornis is forced to fight the 1v2, but Nebula is just too strong. And when left to his own, he's just able to take down anybody.
Ryoma versus the world here. Ion find a fantastic flank from Jovi as they found Ryoma too.
They certainly have. Out goes the feathers, down he goes. Flashball trying to get the kill. He's hiding under this tower. And the Shurima soldiers getting it done once again. You would love to see him pursue Doraemon, but his job here is complete.
His job here is complete, but Foreigner has no flash. He will be flashed on by Swiper and found by the Azir.
Look at the mobility there. Swiper locks him in places. Here, mid laner, take another kill. It was a quiet game for you at the start here, but in the last 2 minutes, you've picked up 4.
So Jovi starts this all off with an incredible shockwave onto King and Draku here. No time to react from the Kalista with the Fate's Call, just simply blown up as a result of that Orianna. But keep in mind, who's actually able to get onto Ryoma? And the answer is nobody. Zornis finds the flashless Orianna, gets the kill with the Profane Hydra auto attack onto Jovi. And then it's just this Azir, who the Sun Disc is basically one-shotting Foreigner. But he is invincible. You can see the confidence that he has because of this passive turret that he has summoned. Enables him to push out this mid-wave, enables him to have the confidence to take it and take down Nebula.
Nearly gets Foreigner before this fight takes place, but denied by the terrain. Blocking him from making that jump across and just holds his own, really. Stands and delivers with that turret to aid him and says, I don't need anybody else to back me on up. I have too much range and far too much damage as well. And you'd certainly imagine now that he is the one with the most gold in this game. The only bounty now, soon to be an 1,000 gold shutdown, which really has just appeared out of nowhere. The CS has been phenomenal. And he said, I am a control mage, I will scale. And even if I don't steal all the glory early on, I know what I can do late.
Scale he definitely has here. He's in item ahead of this Orianna. 338 CS right now. Is this Azir? And it now begs the question, okay, who becomes the priority target? You have to imagine that Ryoma is enemy number 1 for Ion. How do they get on him though? He's got the Emperor's Divide, he's got all this peel. It's going to come down to a nice engage from Hexflash. This Rakan does have the flash available, but is sitting on a little bit of a flank now. We'll wait to be seen what he actually can do because there is a Sun Disc summoned. And look at the damage Nebula takes. That's through a Hex Drinker as well.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal at this point, right? How do you defend this siege? Because this time it is a positive net gain for Antic. Everybody with the Baron buff alive. The first tower falling on down and an inhibitor in the bot lane. The next to follow. Next the question, what are Ion looking for? Because at this stage they are saying, we'll concede, we'll give you this. But I've hit a point where they realize now is the time to go because all 3 lanes are pushing against them.
All 3 lanes absolutely are. Ryoma just feels confident enough that he can stand on this mid wave by himself and wait for his teammates to come give him that support. But this Zornis on Aatrox, very fed in his own right, capable of shoving in these waves, and because this is a lethality build, if he gets any alone time with those turrets, they will just be falling down. But here goes the mid push. Shockwave lands!
He's found it, but Roman's managed to get out just in the nick of time, saved by the shields. As they're unable to find anybody, even the Brand ultimate bouncing around is not enough. Hexflash jumps in with the 2-man charm, but the Magnet Storm is phenomenal there by Swiper. It's not enough though, as the damage cannot follow it up. In jumps the Nautilus, then rips back he goes. Zornis was not even there the entire time as Ion pulled the trigger.
There is just so much damage in this game, Skimmy. Everyone one-shots everyone. You can see the Shockwave looked like Ryoma was going to go down, but just manages to avoid death. And off the back end, it will be Swiper, the only member dying at what could have been a very bloody fight. But technically, again, here you can see The initial shockwave is fantastic. Just with the edge of it, it manages to clip Ryoma when he has the reflexes. He's able to shuffle out. And you can see Swiper is the target of the engage. Hexflash tries to get past him, but no damage. Can actually find him because of the engage from Swiper. So yes, this Rel will pay the price of his life. But ultimately, trading for these Zeri's fine. And Skimmy out of the replay. Kasante's gone down.
It's not ideal. It really is not at this stage of the game. You need everybody up and alive here because Antic are certainly realizing that this game is closer than it should be, right? In terms of kills, 11 to 13. And despite Jovi being 1, 4, and 10, these shockwaves are really starting to add on up. They're causing Antic a few headaches of their own. Make it very difficult for the likes of King to even pilot this game.
Ball's hidden.
He's been hidden right there, and Roma is the one to receive that damage down to 20%, but they managed to sneak in another inhibitor, so both top and bot lane pinch now. They got themselves a Dragon Soul to look forward to in 40 seconds, but they've just got to run.
They've got to run. Crucially, one inhibitor still stands in the mid lane for Ion. You can see the Jovi on that Orianna still doing so much damage, like you mentioned. A Shockwave, if it's paired with any other damage, will be enough to take down either of these carries. But it's going to come down to this Infernal Soul. 20 seconds. The TPs are coming through. If Ion give this over, it's so much extra damage into this Azir, into this Kalista poke. How are they going to respond? It looks like they want to go for into the jungle. But Swiper, so tanky. Even if he face checks, he doesn't care. But Nebula certainly does.
He certainly does. Yeah, the Mormamortis not offering as much mitigation as he certainly would be hoping for. Nowhere near the amount that Swiper has with the Kanik online. And they can just say, well, you've cycled your cooldowns, you've had a chance, but the lanes are just not favorable for you to push up any further. Infernal Soul goes the way of Antic. 3 back-to-back Infernal Dragons went their way. And with the Sun Disc planted in the mid lane, it really did feel like a bit of a checkmate situation there for Iron to say, okay, we have to concede yet another all-important buff. How do we defend it this time?
Infernal Soul going over really hurts as Ryoma will dodge the brand spells. But it's this idea of mounting pressure. They don't have the Baron anymore, but they do have waves pushing in top and bot as the hook goes on.
Jovi's on, and this time his Shockwave does little to nothing. Draku's going to fall on down, but that's not the major concern. Nebula's found his first kill, and as long as Nebula's alive, you start to believe 10 kills. He is the majority of their team's damage. You look at the scoreboard, it's 1 apiece everywhere else. As long as he's there, they have a chance. He's burnt his ultimate, but he's retained his flash.
That's crucial. He has no ultimate here. Ryoma still has the flash and the Emperor's Divide both available. And without the front line of this Kasante, it becomes incredibly hard to walk up. So Ion going to be forced back to this turret as Foreigner.
He found that scoop, and with his last action there, click of the button becomes that Zhonya's. It's just not enough. It's the bot lane against the world here. Can Ion hold in a 2v4? Because these towers are getting melted. They do not cease to exist. Hexflash jumps in with the quickness, and Nebula kiting for his life, but it's just too many members, too much damage, and too late into the game. It's the perfect 2-0, but Antic, they had to work for it.
They had to work for it, but the man in the mid lane, we wrote him a poem before the game, and boy, did he deserve it. On this Azir, putting the team on his back single-handedly. Just when it looked lost, he brings it back from the brink of defeat and secures this 2-0 for Antic.
Perfect 2-0 on the night, and a team already locked in for playoffs give themselves even better of a chance now to secure that upper bracket placement. We'll jump to a quick break, and when we return, it's time to break it all down.
Flash on this Rel, but he's very tanky.
Incredibly tanky right now. It's going to be easy to try and take him on down, but Draku's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Fate School gets broken nicely. Out comes that Feather School, rip back to Feathers and get rooted in place, but Nebula still stands and delivers. Okay. Foreigner's alive, 3 are found, only Jovi falling on down.
Who we just mentioned is incredibly fed with the death count now. Shockwave finds through.
Massive blind Shockwave, instant grand entrance, and a fantastic double kill. That grants Nebula yet another fight working in their favor. The Magnet Storm is good, but it's not enough to get the kill. Hexflash limping away, dying to the Sun Disc.